Hello YouTube, Bradley Hallman here. Got a special episode for you. I got somebody special on the boat with me today. I got my buddy Todd Casteldine. He is going to share with us some of his secrets that he's been keeping for the last 10 years. He's got a bait that he's caught a lot of big fish on. We actually just got done shooting a Scott Martin challenge, 2 episodes for his show on the Discovery Channel. We got to film here in Central Texas, just south of Dallas, outside of Waco, on a place called Camelot Bell. It's a private lake. This place is phenomenal, guys, absolutely phenomenal. We've had a lot of fun here. There's a lot of giant fish. That's what makes this place so special, is how big the fish are in this place, and they're incredible. And hopefully today we catch one for you on this episode, doing what Casteldine loves to do more than anything on the planet. So you guys hold on. If it's your first time here, it's a good time. Hit that subscribe button, bump that like, and we'll get to it. All right, guys, the bait we're talking about, the Casteldine's kept under wraps for a long time. This is actually a Strike King hybrid hunter. It's still in prototype form right now. They do not have it out. Is that correct?
No, it's not in prototype form. That's it.
This is it. This is the bait you've been looking for that we're talking about. This is the hybrid hunter. This is a bait by Strike King that Casteldine's been working with Strike King to bring out to you guys. This is something he's had in his pocket for quite some time, and he's caught a lot of fish on, and a lot of big fish. I actually got to witness this yesterday. He put the smack down on the front of my boat with this bait, and he catches giants, dude, absolute giants. And hopefully today, while we're here on Camelot Bell, you guys get to witness some of the things that Todd does with this bait that makes it unique and special, along with hopefully a very, very large fish catch. If not, we're gonna catch a couple of bass with it and knock this thing out. I was extremely impressed with this bait yesterday, with everything that he's able to do with it. I've known about this for a long time because we've been friends for 15 years, and I've actually had some of these in my tackle box as well. So special bait with a special friend. We're going to do this today, and hope you guys enjoy. We're going to get to it and let Todd do some talking and informing you guys about the little intricacies that make this bait special. So Todd, tell us a little bit about how long you've had this, how you came across it, what all the backstory is on this bait.
All right, from the beginning, I was with a company called Strike Pro, and they had hundreds of baits, and they were always just giving them to me just to they didn't even know what they wanted to do with them. You know, a lot of them weren't even for bass. I couldn't even tell you if this one was made for bass. And as I was getting them, I'd mess with some of them, you know, and I got this one, and let's be honest, okay? It's kind of goofy looking. I mean, it's goofy, but no one's ever seen anything like it. So, you know, I didn't really know what to do with it, and I had one color. And the color I had, to me, was not a bass color, in my opinion, because preconceived notions of bass fishing, which I have totally, since this bait and everything else, I throw out now. I don't pay attention to what bass fishing is anymore, right? About certain baits being for certain bass. I catch bass on saltwater baits all the time. They're called saltwater baits, but they catch bass. So I got this bait, had it for like a year, never threw it. Like made a cast or two and said, oh, this color looks kind of stupid, and I don't really know what to do with the bait. A buddy of mine, and actually Andrew Upshaw, we get out there one day and say, hey, let's go fishing. I'm gonna bring all these Strike Pro baits, like 10 or 12, and we're just gonna all throw them, like different ones. And this is one of the ones I threw. And for whatever reason, it was the first one I threw that day, and it was on. And I'm talking about, it was during the kind of pre-spawn. We were on Rayburn, they were throwing like rattle traps, I was throwing this, and I was crushing them. I mean, I'm like bad. Like 2 guys in the boat throwing rattle traps, the best thing there is to throw on Rayburn. And I was catching them, and I mean big. And by the end of the day, my buddy Billy, who also worked for Strike Pro, made a phone call to Strike Pro overseas and was like, hey, we need thousands of these things. And long story short, we got a couple in, and it never really materialized. I mean, we got some, they kind of sold them a little bit in the US, but It was just a bad ordeal. So fast forward, we still had a bunch of these baits, right? And I had enough to kind of get me through for the last 10 years. And guys, I don't know, being with Strike King, we kind of started talking about it. We were thinking about maybe making something similar, but not really just like it. And I still have a really good relationship with those guys from Strike Pro overseas. So I just called them up. The funny thing about it is, even when we asked for this bait, when we first got it from Strike Pro, they didn't want to do it. They're like, hey, this bait was from 1970. It never caught on. They didn't even want to make it anymore. We had to beg and plead them to remake some more. So when I called them up and I said, hey, I got a deal for y'all. What if we do something with Strike King and start remaking this bait, and you know, the whole license, all that stuff that I'm just a fisherman, so I don't get into all that. But they said yeah, and so we came out with the exact same bait. Like, this is the same mold, same everything. There's nothing different. We didn't have to change anything different, and that's how it came about. And now Strike King's making it in the US, and now everyone gets a chance to throw it.
I know it's a bait that I've heard a lot about. When it was a Strike Pro bait, Todd always had it. It was called the Bubba. There was a lot of talk around Texas about this bait, but you couldn't get them, and that was the big thing. So there was kind of like an underground. You could find some on eBay. They were in different places, but now they're going to be out there on the market for everybody. And I wanted to share it just because of the fact that this is not something that is designed to just catch fishermen. This thing catches bass. It catches the right bass. Oh, just like that.
Not a big one, but
it catches them, guys. Like, it's loud, it's obnoxious, and it catches big fish.
This place is kind of weird. We've been on it a little bit, and we talk about catching big fish. We catch fish like this. There's not a lot of 3 to 4 pounders in here. It's like you get these, and then like monsters. So you'll catch, like, that's what I'm saying. You'll catch small ones on it, but man, it seems to catch the biggest fish in a place. Like, it's amazing. It'll catch the biggest one.
All right, guys, I'm gonna put y'all on the console because he's caught 2 now, and I haven't got to make a cast yet. I'm gonna try to make one, but we're gonna continue to talk to the camera.
Got one.
Well, he's not gonna let me put the camera down. So he's got another one bowed up. It's just amazing, this place, dude. It's just loaded with fish. We caught so many fish yesterday, and so many big fish. We really just had a great day. Just typical Texas. This place is all about the science. They've got monster bucks here. I mean, I'm talking like world-class bucks on this place, and they got world-class bass. Camelot Bell is really, really a special place. We've had a great time here this week. And Todd had put on such a show yesterday. He and I were teamed up against Andrew and Scott, and Andrew is over there trying to put in right now to catch up with us as we speak, because today I wanted to be able to come out and I wanted to share with you guys on my YouTube channel just kind of what we've been up to. And Todd put on such a clinic with his bait yesterday. You know, like I say, it was actually the first time. Yesterday was the first time that Todd and I were actually in a boat together in our entire lives. We've been friends for 15 years, and we fished each other, traveled with each other, but we've never had the opportunity to get in the boat with each other just for one day. And so yesterday was really unique and different. And anyway, wanted to bring it to you guys. I'm gonna put y'all down on the deal. I'm gonna do a little fishing this time if he can go long enough not to get a catch. And we will continue to talk to you, but I'm gonna put y'all right here. Let me tell y'all one thing I learned yesterday. When I'm fishing behind Todd with this, it's very much like trying to throw a buzz bait behind Todd. The first one that goes through with the bait usually gets the bite. It seems to be an aggressive fish. The first aggressive fish up there are the ones that chew. And so for 2 guys to sit in the boat and throw it, you better have a lot of grass and a lot of ground to cover, because it's definitely first man in is the first one that gets bit.
And if you watch, a lot of times, you know, we just reel. It kind of just depends on a lot of different factors. But it's a bait that you don't have to just reel. You can like stop it, you can kind of pull on it, you can pop it and float up. It has a lot of pretty cool attributes. So, you know, you kind of just figure it out throughout the day. Sometimes they want this thing burning it, sometimes they want it real slow. but for the most part, it's about the water column. Like it fishes in a water column in 5 foot of water or less, but not necessarily 5 foot of water on bottom or less. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, it's not like any crankbait I've ever seen. Like, you don't throw it
to dig down in the bottom.
Yeah, it's a very buoyant. It's the most buoyant plastic bait I've ever thrown. Like, and what I mean by that is that it floats up. It's got a different action. It's more wild. It's not as in tune all the time. It's liable to go to the left 5 feet and then come back to the right 5 feet. It's very erratic.
So, like earlier, I was sitting in 5 foot when I caught those two, throwing in like 2, but I wasn't even hitting bottom then. I was kind of making them stay off the bottom. But most crankbaits, wouldn't you agree, square bill, like you're wanting your bait to dig on the bottom. And that's not, you kind of really don't want this thing digging on bottoms too much unless you're around kind of rock, like it, but not the rock of like slate rock. You know what I'm saying? Like flatter rock. That's the kind of rock I want it to be on, where it touches it every once in a while just to make it curve, not like the chunk rock. Chunk rock makes it doesn't. That's more for like a square bill, in my opinion.
Anyway, this bait's been around. Todd's been throwing it for a long time, and it's a game changer. There's no doubt about it. This lake's got some grass in it, some coontail and spotty places, and it seems to be the places that we get bit. Anything that's flat, kind of looking for a flat area. We get to a little long, flat tapering point, and it's got a little bit of grass in it. And you run the crankbait over it and bump the grass. Just typical grass fishing.
We had some on some hard breaks.
Yep.
Like there's like around the dam, anything that like there's some places, very few, so we didn't have a chance to do it. But there were some where it was like 2 to 3 foot and drop, and it seemed like we'd catch them. Yeah. But we wouldn't catch them all like on the flat part. It would come off the drop a couple, and this thing won't go down the drop. It stays above it. You know, you'll agree with me. A lot of those fish sit. As that drop goes down, they sit right here. And a lot of most crankbaits come down there, but when one just kind of stays above them, that's when they go up there and eat.
It almost resembles like a topwater bite. It's kind of what it reminds me of. Like
wake bait.
Very similar to a wake bait, topwater bite. They definitely feed up on it.
I think that's why they hit it so hard. Like, because we always talk about, like, you can always tell by frog fishing, like how hard, like where they're coming from on a frog. If you're getting fish to come up there and just mouth a frog like this, it's usually shallow water. If you're over grass 3 to 4 foot, most of your bites are like giant explosions. Well, that's because they're coming from a longer distance straight up to get it. It's kind of like this, you know, like when you get them hit sometimes, they're like, man, they're freaking coming for it, like from a pretty good ways away. And a lot of the time it is from the bottom to the top. Where other crankbaits, you know how when you're cranking normally, it loads? That's because they're usually hitting it on the bottom. So you're bouncing off the bottom, they just go down there and suck it. But this one, they're hitting it like that. So, I mean, you get a bite that's don't you agree? None of your bites like this are like a normal crankbait. They're like jig bites.
Yeah. So do you have success with this bait also on rock holes, like Table Rock, Lake of the Ozarks, places like that aren't grass?
Yeah, it's just different. This bait, what's hard about this bait, even for me to this day, is going to a lake, and it might be a different lake, and trying to figure out the pattern on that lake with it. Because in Florida, it might be the grass. Table Rock, it might be really, I've caught them 2 different ways at Table Rock. I made a cut in an open down there throwing it, and it was in the springtime, and they were on table rocks. They were on the rock shelves of where it would come out at 3 to 4 foot, and then it would drop to 7 and 8, and they'd be on that top of shelf. And so it wasn't the normal crankbait fishing, right? Where if you're thinking Table Rock, wouldn't you agree? Most of it is wiggle warts down to 45-degree banks, right?
Yeah.
That thing doesn't work very good there. It worked on really steep banks, steeper than 45s. And I would throw it so close to the bank, and I guess they were sitting down there in 6 or 8, and they can see, and I would just reel it, I mean, as fast as I possibly can. And they would come up there and hit it, and they were hitting it in the middle of the day, like a day like today, when everyone says cranking's not that good. It was dead calm, and I think it was different for him. So I've caught him there. I've caught him in lily pad stems. I mean, I've caught him in some really unique places.
So it's pretty safe to say that your confidence roars with this bait, and you take it a lot of places in a lot of different situations and have had success with it.
Well, fish, like every bait you've ever owned that's really good, it works everywhere. Yeah. Right? I mean, a good bait translates over every single place. So that's where but you got to learn that lake you're on, like where it's gonna do good, because where it works on one lake, it might not work on the other in the same situation. That's the hardest part I've had to figure out. And now, after this many years, like I can look at some place like, oh, that's it right there.
Well, guys, it didn't take long to get a couple fish catches on this, and I appreciate Todd doing this with me. I can tell you that after fishing with him yesterday, first time in the boat, he's kind of like that kid when he gets his bait in his hand and he kind of starts doing his little stupid deal. He's almost like that kid on your basketball team that's a ball hog. He took my trolling motor away from me. I never saw it again the rest of the day. When I did get on it, he finds his way to still throw in front of the boat. Like stuff that like co-anglers like pros get mad about. He constantly throws in front of the boat, even when he's behind you. He makes darn sure that he gets most of the big bites during the day because he stays in front of you. Cecil, I don't know how you fished with him for team tournaments all these years. I would have to choke him out. I'd be like, dude, you got to put me in the saddle at some point. I didn't come here to ride in the back of the buggy of this horse. So
I'll let you flip.
He let me flip one, that's right. For 15 minutes in the morning, I caught a 4.5 pounder right out of the gate with a flipping stick. But this boy, he gets up there in the saddle and he doesn't give it up. But he does a good job when he's in there. So when it's a team event, you know, you let him roll. But guys, I really appreciate y'all being here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. Until next time, I'm out of here.